Me and my family were getting ready to watch Mass online. It was a Sunday during the pandemic. We had been making the effort to stay as close to the church as possible during this time of distance and difficulty. So I was just there with my parents and my siblings in shorts in the living room, waiting for the Mass to start. I thought to myself, this is just like any other Mass. Let's make the best out of it and then watch some football or something. While we're waiting, some announcements come up regarding the Mass. They say that they're going to offer the Mass for vocations. My thought was, oh, that's great. Let's pray for vocations. We should have a lot of them, right? So the Mass continues, and as the Mass starts, and as it starts to develop, for some reason I start feeling more engaged. I start feeling drawn to the liturgy. This Mass was not like all the others. This was different. So at the time of the Gospel, I was really listening at this point. And the Gospel was when Jesus called Peter and told him to follow him. In this moment, I felt like those words were coming from my heart and that they were directed towards me. The priest continues and gives the homily. During the whole homily, I started seeing how all of that was sinking in my heart. And I felt challenged. So the Mass continues. And at the end of the Mass, they give some more announcements about the vocations. The Mass finishes and I go straight to my room. And at this moment, I'm shivering, I'm perplexed, I am confused because of the experience that I had just had. And it came to my mind, all of those other times when I thought about giving my life to God. And so at this moment, I realized that I couldn't keep it to myself anymore and that I had to do something about it. So I go to the living room and I tell my parents that I have to tell them something important. And so they realize that I'm serious and that it is something important. So they listen. And I tell them, Mom, Dad, I think that God is calling me. And my mom's reaction was, oh, I already knew that. I was like, wait, what? You could have told me before, right? Anyways, my dad, being more precautious, is like, well, think about it, Ricky, because it could just be a feeling. So, fair enough, I did. A couple months later, the churches open up again, and we go back to Mass, to my parish. At the end of the Mass, a lady comes up to me, a lady that I knew, but I hadn't talked to her since 4 years. And she starts talking to me about her son. She tells me that her son is in Rome, studying philosophy, and doing all these great things. And I was like, wow, that sounds great. And then she tells me, he's a Legionary of Christ. I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. And then she starts talking to me about the Regnum Christi. And she starts explaining to me how they do all of this apostolate, and they do all of this for love of Christ. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. And then she asked if I would want to talk with a legionary priest. And I said, yes, definitely. So a couple of weeks later, I talked with a legionary priest called Father Julio Martí. And I told him everything about my life. It was a 2-hour-and-a-half conversation. And it turns out that there was a vocational retreat in Colombia. So I signed up. And when I went to the retreat, I remember that as soon as I entered the seminary, I felt peace. Thank you very much.